joining us on Twitter, you're joining us on Facebook, you're joining us on YouTube. Again, welcome in the ring. It's a privilege to have each and every one of you. And as you know, the price of admission is to share the live stream. And we're going to do just that. We're going to share the live stream a couple places, and then we're going to be back with you guys. So stay tuned, and let's all pay this price of admissions, folks. A very good evening. Happy Monday, folks. Happy Monday, wherever you're picking us from, in the diaspora or home here in Guyana. A happy Monday to each and every one of you. Welcome in the ring, folks. And let me make sure that I have shared the live stream as well. All right. Let me ensure that I have shared it a couple of places, and then we're good to go. We're good to go. I'm sharing, folks. I'm sharing. All right. All right. I see so many of you are sharing the live stream as well, and I am immensely grateful. Immensely grateful. All right. A couple other places, folks, and then I'm good to go at my end. A couple other places, and then I'm good to go. Good to see so many of you already online. Good to see so many of you online. I have a guest already with me this evening, and we are about ready to go. We're going to get through our hot topics very quickly, and then we're going to get to our guest in that short order. Really great to see so many of you already online. All right. A couple other places to share, and then we're good to go. And I'm seeing all of my guests joining me this evening, which is a good thing. Guys, we're going to get started in just a minute. Let me ensure that we are posted where we need to be. And I am almost ready. All right, good. So this is the challenge that we have. Again, a very good evening. And as soon as we get to that magic number, we are going to start, and I'm going to have my guests. I'm going to walk through my hot topics as quickly as I can, and then I'm going to have my guests on joining me this evening. Really great to see all the folks who have joined us already. And if you come late this evening, well, you're going to miss a good part of the program. Folks, I'm ready to get to our hot topics for tonight, and I hope you guys are as well. All right, let me ensure that. Yeah. I'm almost ready to go. All right, folks. A very good evening again, and welcome in the ring. Whether you guys are joining us on Twitter, you're joining us on YouTube, you're joining us on Facebook, across social media, we welcome you, and please share your thoughts with us. Give us your comments, give us a retweet, give us a share on Facebook, give us a retweet on Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are privileged to have you guys. Let's touch on some of the things that would have been transpiring perhaps over the weekend, if not during the course of today. And in some international news, I want to point out to you guys, we are picking up some international news. And one of our old friends, quote unquote, one of our old friends, we see just over the weekend, this article coming out stating that Mr. Pompeo has violated ethics rules by asking his staff in the then State Department to carry out personal tasks. And this is a watchdog group that is attached to the State Department that overlooks and supervises the activities of the State Department, has come out with this report, again, that Mr. Pompeo has violated ethics rule. And we understand by now the role that Mr. Pompeo has played in local Guyanese politics. We understand by now that. So we just wanted to put that on your radar. And closer to home, folks, we have seen that Mr. Keith Rowley, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, has something in common with the Speaker of our National Assembly, Mr. Mansour Nadir. He has contracted COVID-19 for the second time. Folks. And that story broke within the last 24 hours. And so we're going to keep you updated throughout the week as to where that goes and to how that has progressed. But again, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago has tested positive for COVID-19. That is one of the challenges we have on the ground here. We don't have a sense of the ministers who are COVID-19 positive, even though we have some unconfirmed reported. Quite a few of our ministers of recent have contracted COVID-19, but it all talks about the surge that we not only see here in Guyana, but also in the region as a whole. So we'll keep monitoring what is happening with Keith Rowley there in Trinidad and Tobago, folks. And quite a similar issue. We just picked up on this information, even though it's a little dated. It's a couple of days old. This member of parliament out of Jamaica, who has assaulted a female in Jamaica quite recently, and it was caught on camera. And folks, I wanna share some of that with you because it is reminiscent of the Tabitha Sarabo Haley incident with the infamous Kwame McCoy. So I wanted to bring a part of this report for you guys this evening and to share with you, because again, it draws such a striking parallel with what has transpired at home here in Guyana as well. And so that is one of the things we are going to be looking at. I seem to be having a bit of challenge at my end here. Just bear with me, folks. Let me see what's going down. But again, this case, very, very serious issue in Jamaica at the moment. And I'm going to try to get some more information during the weekend, perhaps as we were in the diaspora on Wednesday night. I'm going to have some more information on this matter for you. But again, we are looking to see what will be the outcome of this matter in Jamaica. I have a little challenge here, folks. Bear with me. It's just one of those evenings. Just one of those evenings. So just give me a second. Let me see what is happening behind the scene, because I really want you guys to have a sense of what is happening where the video is concerned. And I think it's going to be very, very useful to us to see what has been transpiring in the region that is similar to what we have happening here. Let's see what's happening. All right. All right. It's just one of those evenings. We might have to go without that, but I'll try to see if I get it before we close the program this evening and bring that video back to you guys. But quite interesting there. Let's look at some of the other issues that we have this evening. And let me see if I can get... All right, it's just one of those nights where all manner of things are happening. Let me see if I can get this for you. All right. Folks, bear with me for a second. Let me gather my bearings. All right, that being said, allow me to introduce to you this evening. I'm going to come back to some of the hot topics. Allow me to introduce to you this evening two of my guests who will be joining me this evening. And I am tremendously privileged to be joined by Mr. Norris Witter. I'm tremendously privileged to be joined by Mr. Norris Witter, and he is the president of the General Workers Union. And they have responsibility, for instance, for the staff of, I think you call them the non-traditional staff of Banks DIH Limited, the Gold Board, the East Demar Conservancy, and the Guyana Rice Board as well. And I'm going to be joined by my colleague, Christopher Jones, as well, for our discussion this evening. Yeah. Guys, you know what they say, it never rains until it pours. Mr. Witter, very good evening to you.
Mr. Duncan, and I would wish to, from the inception, thank you for inviting me on your show.
I am privileged to have you, Mr. Witter. Very, very privileged to have you. As I said, Mr. Witter, members of the public, Mr. Witter represents the several important institutions, namely, for instance, Banks DIH, the Guyana Gold Board, the East Demora Conservancy, Guyana Rice Development Board, as the president of the Guyana's Workers Union. Mr. Witter, what's happening in your world?
Well, I take it to mean by my world, the world of the trade union movement.
Correct.
While you made specific reference to the agencies that falls directly under the charge of the General Workers Union, it must be noted that the work of a labor leader is never restricted to those bargaining units that falls directly under their charge. It is national, regional, and international. So wherever workers are challenged, a labor leader has a right to intervene. However, that intervention must take into consideration established protocols.
Yeah. And so I know that you're currently involved in some collective bargaining for the workers that you represent. So let's start with that and how that is going.
Well, collective bargaining is one of the pivotal functions of the labor movement, but it is not the only function. Equally as important will be educating the working force, representation, which also includes investigation, because the quality of your investigation will determine the effectiveness of your representation.
Yeah.
On the question of education, an educated workforce, like an educated nation, adds value not only to the organization, but also to national development. And to the extent that workers generally are educated, to that extent, there will be a minimization of the kind of challenges that you are likely to have in an uneducated workforce. Because with three basic things that one could readily call to mind that education does, apart from improving the knowledge of the person, it also allows the person to perform at a higher level. And it also has a positive impact on the attitude and behavior of persons. So the labor movement sees education and training as critical for the development of not only a responsible, but a productive workforce.
Fantastic, sir. Just today, we would have seen a strike action, for instance. As you said, your mandate is broader than just the union that you represent. And we would have seen, for instance, some protest action by the Blairmont estate workers. What are your thoughts as you see these workers are out there protesting for higher wages and salaries?
Okay. Let me begin my answer by making this point. My analysis, my perception will not be a partisan one, meaning that it will not be influenced by any political consideration. It will be an objective analysis of the situation as I see it. Now,
Thank you.
as a labor leader, I embrace fully the right of workers and their unions to agitate for better pay and improved conditions of work. That is part of our mandate. And therefore, from that perspective, I am in solidarity with the workers in their struggle for better wages and improved conditions. Today, we talk about not only nationally, but this is a global agenda, and that is the agenda of the decent work agenda. And within the decent work agenda, it encompasses good, decent pay, meaning that pay must be fair, and it also encompasses decent conditions. Now, there are ILO conventions referred to as the core conventions that speaks to the question of pay and what is considered to be decent pay, and also what is considered to be acceptable working conditions. But having said that, let me now make this point that when political expediency is the criterion that will determine the future of an industry, particularly a state industry, then we are going down a very bumpy road. And I would like to express to you at this point my concern in terms of what is happening based on what you have just related.
Yeah.
I hold the view that workers should not subsidize any industry. Likewise, I also embrace the view that taxpayers should not subsidize any industry also. Now, having said that, and you knowing as well as I do that Gaisuko has been a loss-making industry for the longest while, then those two statements that I made earlier obviously would have put the industry in a conundrum. The question, therefore, is that how can an industry that is subsidized by the taxpayer meet the rising cost of production that is likely to be exacerbated by further increases to the workers? So you have a very conflicting and contradictory situation. Now, one must obviously look at what I've just said from the perspective that it is not only that Gaisuko is a loss-making company for quite some time now, but when one were to look at the current cost of production vis-a-vis the world market price, it's terrifying. The cost of production is about nearly approaching three times the world market price. If
Which
you want,
means we are giving away sugar.
definitely. So if you are now to take into account what is likely to be increased wages to the employees, which increases, I must say, not only are they entitled to, right? Given the fact that they have not enjoyed increases for quite some time, right? And they deserve,
Yeah.
but that very increase is going to further exacerbate the situation, meaning that it will take the cost of production higher.
Yeah.
The cost of production vis-a-vis the market price higher than what it is at this point in time.
This
So
is a catch-22.
what in fact I'm saying is that you're looking at rather than an improvement in the fate of the industry, a worsening in that situation.
Well, the current administration had promised to make sugar great again, and we don't see it happening very soon. Mr. Witter, you talked about increasing wages and salaries. The 2021 budget, my final question, has been read probably close to 2 months now. The Vice President, Mr. Jagdeo, had said that there is money in this budget for public servants, yet we have not heard any announcement to date about an increase in the salaries of public servants. What are your thoughts?
Or let me respond to you in this manner. Now we are seeing at this point in time agitation from the sugar workers, from an ailing industry, heavily subsidized by the taxpayer, for increased wages and salary. Obviously, the union is aware of the state of the industry, but they have a right. If the state reopens, they have a right to demand fair wages and proper conditions.
Yes.
I think the challenge that we are likely to face in the future, based on what you have just said, is that we can be very well entering into the realm of trade union radicalism. Because were the union in sugar to succeed in winning for those workers higher wages, given the state of the industry, then it will be reasonable for the unions in the other public sector to make similar demands and expect the state to respond in a similar manner, right? But more than that, we may very well find a situation where unions, particularly in the public sector, may make demands that they themselves consider to be unjustifiable or unreasonable, but for their very survival, see it as being necessary to keep their membership mobilized around them. But that's a dangerous situation.
But Mr. Witter, the only thing in this case is that these monies would have already been passed in terms of increasing salaries for public servants. But it's just that there have been no announcements. So one wonders if the administration is trying to hoodwink public servants, because they said that there are monies in the budget for increasing in public servants' wages and salaries. And so, but we haven't heard anything.
Two things quickly. Mm-hmm. One is that we have noticed where salary increases, not only to the public servants, the traditional civil servants, but even to the public sector workers, were used as a manipulative tool, right? And in doing that, what the government has virtually done, not only the current government, the previous government did it too, yes, is that they have violated certain cardinal principles as it relates to the whole question of free collective bargaining, which the government, right, has adopted right? From at the National Labor Organization level. You see, negotiations for salaries and wages is the single most important means available to any union to mobilize all its workers around it. So when the government takes away that tool, what it is taken away is the ability of the union to mobilize its members. It's a dangerous thing. But as
Yeah.
I said earlier, you know, sometimes governments do things and they get away with it and feel that they can do it all the time, right? Until a time approaches when the workers themselves will come to the realization that they are being hoodwinked and manipulated, and they will take a stand, right?
Yeah. Well,
Um,
Mr. Richard, you said it best in terms of union radicalism.
oh yes.
Yeah. Mr. Witter, I want to thank you for stepping in the ring this evening, and walking us through some of these issues happening currently in trade unionism in our country. Thanks very much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Have a great evening.
You too.
All right, folks, there you have it, Mr. Norris Witter from the General Workers Union, and that union represents several workers in entities like Banks DIH, the Guyana Gold Board, the East Amwara Conservancy, and the Guyana Rice Development Board, among others. So a very, very important union. MP
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Jones, how are you doing, sir?
What's
I
up?
haven't seen you in a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I'm doing good. I've been good.
Great. Chris, I want to touch on some issues before we talk about a couple other things. I want to come back to this issue of this of the Jamaican MP.
Yeah.
I want to come back to this issue of the Jamaican MP because again, it bears such striking similarities of
Mm-hmm.
what transpired here with the MP Tabitha Sarabo Hali and Kwame McCoy incident, where he assaulted her in the
Yeah.
precincts of Parliament. And
Mm-hmm.
this MP here out of Jamaica did something similar, albeit he wasn't in the parliamentary precincts. But nonetheless, a very, very similar issue. So let's take this, Chris, and let's come back on the other side. And I want to get your comments on this very, very important and important matter, I think, happening in the Caribbean region.
Yeah. But indeed, Sherrod, you're absolutely correct. And if persons out there had the opportunity to read this statement from the political party that he represented in the parliament, it is not only that
Hold on,
steps are
Chris.
being. Sure.
Chris, hold for me.
Minute video that has so welcome if you're watching online at onespotmedia.com. Pressure is mounting this evening on Westmoreland Central MP George Wright to tender his resignation following allegations that he was involved in a physical altercation with a woman. The police have said both the MP and the unidentified woman have filed reports complaining that they have been assaulted, but the opposition wants the MP to resign. Fashion Brown has more. A 5-minute video that has been making the rounds on social media with Westmoreland Central MP George Wright at the center. It starts with the man and the woman walking towards each other. Here they're seemingly in conversation. The man is then seen dragging, slapping, and punching the woman a number of times in the head as they engage in a tussle. At one point, the man picked up a stool and used it to hit the woman. Following the altercation, the man is seen driving away. The woman then throws an object which hits his vehicle. The man stops and comes out of his vehicle. He walks over to the woman's vehicle and seemingly another altercation. The video then ends with both persons leaving the scene.
Head of the Area 1 Police Headquarters, Assistant Commissioner of Police Clifford Chambers, gave TVJ News an update on the investigation.
What we know is that
there you have it, Chris.
Tuesday of last
Your
week,
thoughts?
Very serious, and it says to you how countries like Jamaica takes serious whether it's an allegation, and more so that there are video footage provided for it, as compared to Guyana and more so the Parliament of Guyana, in which you had two eyewitnesses that witnessed the assault on MP Tabitha Sarabo Hali, and the police seem to have just disregard the statements from those two individuals. I recognize too the statement emanated from the political party that he represents. Also, not only asked that he resign as a member of parliament, but the political party as well that he represents, as well, are taking actions to remove him from several key posts that he holds there as well. It is a demonstration of how countries, unlike Guyana, take matters of assault on women or violence or interpersonal violence serious as compared to us.
Yep. And again, the parallels here, Chris, is so striking.
Mhm.
It is so striking. And I have some information here, an update that was provided for from the Jamaica Labour Party, where this MP comes from. And for instance, they would have asked him to withdraw from the government parliamentary caucus until this unresolved allegation circulating in the public domain is investigated, and they would also have discussed his attendance at Parliament itself.
Yeah, that's right. And he has been reduced to an independent member of the Parliament of the National Assembly and not representing the JPL. That is how far they distanced themselves from him. And I don't have information about the background about this Jamaica Labour Party MP in terms of previous altercations with persons and so forth. But in the case of Guyana, where it comes to Kwame McCoy, the list is long. The allegations is long. He has been to court and has been charged for assault. You know, the list is long. So this is a repeat offender, and it is strange, shocking to say the least, that the People's Progressive Party Civic One have him as a sitting minister of the government. You know, I recall when the interview was done with MPs Amanzo Walton Desir in Trinidad and Tobago, that the desk jockey were shocked that she was making reference to a sitting minister of the government within the office of the prime minister of the country. They were shocked, disbelief. But they treat the report of the allegation very light from the inception. And I'm speaking here from the Ghana Police Force to the National Assembly, the Speaker of the National Assembly, and inclusive of the female members of Parliament of the government side. And it is Kwame McCoy who is a known offender.
Yeah. Chris, thanks for that interjection there. I want to turn your attention, MP, to what has been happening in terms of COVID-19. And as you know, Chris, this has been, almost out of control. This whole thing here with COVID-19. I mean, we ain't catching ourselves here at all, right? We ain't catching ourselves here at all where it concerns COVID-19. Just today, for instance, we see we have some confirmed cases, additional confirmed cases, 38, but we see that we're pushing on now 12,000 confirmed cases, and the deaths also continue to increase, Chris. Just today, this was the scene, for instance, at the Department of Citizenship, where even members of the public and staff are complaining that they aren't adhering to social distancing rules. So it seems to be lip service from this government where it concerns COVID-19.
Oh, indeed. I want to start from the basis of the COVID-19 task force and COVID-19 in general, is that COVID-19 is beyond politics, is beyond party politics. COVID-19 is a global pandemic that has gripped the entire globe, and persons are suffering and so forth. And one would expect that if you are going to champion the fight against COVID-19 to protect your citizenry, you would want to ensure that all are on board and all are involved. And I bring your attention now to the COVID-19 task force. And I want to remind the viewers that under the APNU+AFC government, when we had patient zero in 2020, immediately the government set up a national task force so that you can deal with the matter. The government at the time extended an invitation to the People's Progressive Party Civic, not to send a representative, but representatives to be part of the COVID-19 task force so that they would be able to get firsthand information and they will be able to feed that firsthand information to their constituency of which they represent. Because, of course, various constituencies will look for guidance from their leaders. Now that the People's Progressive Party Civic is there, and they set up the task force. To date, the opposition has no representative on that task force. We have no idea. We are unable to provide support and guidance to them. We are unable to provide our constituencies with support and guidance as well. And I'll bring you now to the vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine. While we advocate the importance of all and sundry going and be vaccinated, we know the importance of that. But if our constituency asks us about a particular vaccine, we don't have the first-hand information as from the national task force. We are reduced to going on Google.
Yeah.
We are reduced to go on Google that information and then say to people that, listen, this is what I read. I don't here is accurate, but this is what I have. And that tells you the emphasis or the importance of which the People's Progressive Party Civic placed on COVID-19. They don't take it seriously at all. Because if they did, the task force would have had representatives not only from the main opposition political party, but several small parties and other groupings that are there. Because this is something that has to be tackled at a national level, you know.
Correct.
But how could we lend support and we don't have the basic information? All of these vaccine, Ghana has vaccine from India, from China, from Russia. What are the background information on these vaccines? Has there been blood clot? How many persons in the various countries died as a result of taking these vaccines? None of those information we don't have. So how could we then go and say to our constituency, go get the vaccine? While we recognize and we know the importance of being vaccinated, but we could provide the public with more information as it relates to AstraZeneca or Moderna coming out from the United States, because the information there or coming out from the US is so plentiful that you are guided. But as it relates to Sputnik and COVID Shield, AstraZeneca out of India, and the one that is coming from China, apart from a DPI press release that says, oh, Guyana just received 40,000 vaccine, Prime Minister went to the airport to collect them. We have no other information about it.
And Chris, you know what the challenge here is, and the tragedy is that in every other country, the head of state seems to take the lead role in terms of the COVID public relations. It doesn't happen here. Even Frank doesn't seem to know what is happening. As a matter of fact, you talked just now about having the information. He himself doesn't seem to have it. You have three ministers in that one ministry. You have the previous health minister, Ramsamy. You got the other previous health minister, Barry Ramsaran, and you got Frank Anthony, and still they don't seem to know what is happening. And a case in point, Chris, the Minister of Health, Frank Anthony, had one job today, is to come and to give an update on COVID-19. And even that, Chris, he was unprepared for. I want to play a clip for you, and I want to get your response at the end. This is today. The minister knows he's going to give a COVID update on vaccination and the spread of COVID. This is today. This is the minister.
Can you provide us with any kind of breakdown, either by gender or regions, for the persons vaccinated?
We have the breakdown. I just don't have them here. And maybe on the next occasion, we'll try to get the regional breakdown for you.
Yep, that's the fellow.
Yeah.
That's the fellow, Chris. Thoughts?
Yeah. Look, well, you know, again, I juxtapose him to former Minister of Health, Ms. Vala Lawrence, and when she had to provide these updates and so forth. And you had that. You had updates based on gender. You had updates based on gender per region. You even have COVID hotspots for a particular area. All of that information was being provided then. Now it seems, and you know, mind you, Sharon, is that Frank Anthony is so constant on, I think it's the National Communication Network morning program with the COVID update. And it is essentially the same repetition over and over.
Yeah.
It is nothing new. So
Yeah.
as a citizen watching that, you are so tired because it is the same thing you are hearing, you look away. And therefore persons aren't getting the information because it's just a repetition, nothing new. You know, it's
Chris,
coming
let me
from
play
that.
that back once more for those persons who might have missed this because it happened so fast. The man just doesn't know.
Can you
Sure.
provide us with any kind
I
of
don't.
breakdown, either by gender or regions, for the persons vaccinated?
We have the breakdown. I just don't have them here, and maybe on the next occasion we'll try to get the regional breakdown for you.
Can you provide us with any kind of breakdown, either by gender or regions, for the persons vaccinated?
We have the breakdown. I just don't have them here, and maybe on the next occasion we'll try to get the regional breakdown for you.
Chris, the
Can you
man had
provide us
one
with
job.
any kind
One
of
job he
breakdown?
had to do. One job to earn the salary at the end of the month. Give the nation an update on the vaccinations that are happening, the aspects, all aspects of the vaccination, and possible increased spread. One job. And even that. Hold on, Chris. Hold on. Great ahead. Sorry about that.
Yeah. What should be noted is that he said that I don't have the information here. Just let me share with your viewers that here the minister is referring to the Ministry of Health headquarters on Brickdam in his office in which he is making that presentation. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and this again, Frank Anthony's competence has come in for question so many times during this process. And he isn't making it easy at all. He isn't making it easy. And you know, they want to say that you don't like them and you're too critical and everything they're talking about in the ring and in the ring and in the ring. But when you have stuff like this to deal with, how don't you point this out to the nation that these are the people that had a COVID task force, a parallel COVID task force, even when they were in opposition, and they claimed that they could do a better job. On August 2nd, there were 21 deaths. There were 474 confirmed cases of COVID-19. We're pushing on 12,000 cases now, and you got over 270 deaths. And they claimed that they knew what to do.
Exactly. You know,
Sorry about that, Chris.
yeah, you hear me?
Yes.
Right. No, and even as well too, you look at the curfew. Um, eh, the curfew, and there's a big pronouncement that the curfew is 10:30 in the evening to 4 a.m. in the morning. Now, what is that? You can't be serious about combating or fighting COVID-19 and having a curfew in place in which you speak of 10:30 in the evening to 4 a.m. in the morning. When you have soaring numbers, I think this month of April, it set a record in terms of how many persons died from COVID-19 as compared to 2020. And when you look at the same corresponding period, when you had perhaps at the time probably like 6 or 8 deaths, you had a curfew in place which spoke to 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. When you had 6 or 8 deaths, now you're pushing 270. You're speaking about 130 something confirmed cases per day. And you have a curfew that goes from 10:30 in the evening to 4 a.m. You have nearby Suriname, who has gone into full lockdown, and many of the Caribbean territories who have less deaths as compared with Guyana. And they have some solid regime in terms of curfew and timing and so forth. When you look at the deaths as per capita with a population like Guyana, I said to someone the other day when I was having a conversation with them, so let this sink in. Guyana's population, let's approximate it at 754,000 persons.
Yeah. All right. So Chris got bounced off there. But as Chris comes back, I want us to turn our attention to what has been happening in the public sector. And I missed this point when Mr. Norris Witter was on. the president of the General Workers Union, because I wanted to ask him, what does he make of all of the firings in the public service when Mr. Jagdeo himself had promised, well, rather Irfan had promised just before taking office that they would have been professional, Chris, they would not fire anybody. And then Mr. Jagdeo, Chris, had made this clear. I want to play it for you and then get your reaction on the other side.
All races, all religion, all of our people will have a fair share in the new government. And there are a lot of people that they're spreading fears in their hearts about, oh, they're going to lose their jobs. Ordinary people don't have to worry about the PPP, whether they voted for APNU or not, because we take care of all Ghanaians, all the children. The few who have to worry are the couple on top. A few of them, about 10 of them are so, right?
About 10 of them, Chris. About 10 of them.
People of all.
The man said he would be only about 10 persons got to worry about their job.
Yes.
About 10 of them. What are your thoughts?
Yes.
I think he missed. I think he meant 10,000.
The ordinary citizen don't have to worry.
Yeah, Chris, let me play it back one more time for folks who might have missed it. And then I get some of their thoughts.
All religion, all of our people will have a fair share in the new government. And there are a lot of people that they're spreading fears in their hearts about, oh, they're going to lose their jobs. Ordinary people don't have to worry about the PPP, whether they voted for APNU or not, because we take care of all Ghanaians, all the children. The few who have to worry are the couple on top. A few of them, about 10 of them are so, right?
Yeah. So about 10 had to worry. And we were spreading fears.
Yeah.
What we were spreading was the truth. As we knew it.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. 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 Chris, I know that. Go ahead.
No, you go. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that I know we had a big weekend, the APNU+AFC, spread out across Region 5, and you were very integral to that planning. Tell us a little bit about that.
All right. So, of course, due to the pandemic, the difficulty and challenges in terms of hosting community meetings with our constituencies across the country have been a challenge. But of course, having the opportunity to ensure that the environment in which you're going to be hosting these community meetings, outdoors, that you can only allow a certain amount of persons present at one time, ensure that everyone is wearing a mask, ensure that the COVID protocols are observed. We were able, only just this last weekend, able to bring off 19 meetings in the Mahaica-Berbice region. Of course, those meetings were well attended, in keeping and adhering to the social distancing and all of that, the COVID measures, but they were well attended. And more so too, because these constituency wants to know what is some of the questions that were posed as it relates to the petition that is going to be, or the ruling on the petition that is going to be had on Monday coming. They wanted to know about the COVID cash grant, and those persons in many of those villages, particularly in the West Coast, Berbice area, who still have those pink slips, and promise that people will come back. Some of them reported to us that quite a number of people who should have in their possession these pink slips, that the persons who went to their homes actually took those pink slips with them, so they have no idea as to whether or not they will be able to get any of this cash grant and so forth. So we had the opportunity to interact with them. And of course, Sherrod, as you know, this is nothing new. We already had the community meetings there in Region 10. We had the outreach in the Pomeroon River. And of course, this weekend coming, we will be in the Region 2, where those exercises will continue and so forth. But all in all, is that the complaints, the report.
Just about that. About some of the complaints that we will report.
Correct. Bath settlement, for example, I want to go there where we had the interaction there with the residents, and they complained privately, quietly in the corner that, listen, what they expected is not what they got. They made a mistake. They believe that truly. They speak about the disunity that is happening in the country as compared under the APNU-AFC. They report to you, frankly, Frank, that listen, under the APNU-AFC in our region, particular region like Region 5, as you know, it's multi. That they used to live in peace and comfort with the neighbors. They said right now everybody, to quote a woman, she said right now everybody walking on the road and everybody face vex up, vex up. You know, there's no longer auntie and uncle that used to occur before. Is people don't even shop in the various villages now. You see a focus now on the African villages having their market days separate and apart. They no longer go and shop in the Indian villages and so forth, and that is happening. And of course, that came about when you had statements to the effect that food items will be poisoned and we could poison out that sort of thing. But they speak about that and they compare now as to what was obtained under the APNU AFC government, and they agree that during that time they were in peace, they were in comfort, and they used to live like brother and sister. They're very disappointed in terms of what is happening currently in the country.
Yeah. Chris, a couple of the meetings that I was at, a major concern there in Region 5 was drainage and irrigation of those farmlands. They talked about how it has deteriorated under the PPPC.
Yeah, that would have been in the Myconi area. And what the PPP did during the APNU AFC administration, you recall that you had the sea defense that was breached and a lot of farmlands were flooded out. The PPP quickly ran into that area and made a whole host of promise, to the farmers there in those communities of what they will do and what they will not do for them and so forth. Coming into office and you speak to those farmers now, absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. They were bamboozled. They know that. They admitted that in those meetings that we had, that the People's Progressive Party Civic did nothing more than lie to them just to get their vote.
Well, that is where we are, unfortunately. And I think more and more people are recognizing the kind of administration that we have in the PPC, because all of the broken promises, that you have, from the only 10 persons are going to be fired, but you can take it from there.
Yeah, and the ordinary people have nothing to fear. Yeah. The ordinary people. So those nurses in Region 10, those community health workers, those young people from the general registrar office, the office assistant, ambulance brigade, the driver. They have correct. But you recall too as well, Bishop Juan Edgil, before having been installed, Bishop Edgil is on record as stating that they will have sleepless nights. You know, and I want people to remember that, because we said that to you then. We played that on these programs over and over. When Bishop Juan Edgil said that you will have sleepless nights, and so true to form, because the thousands of Guyanese who have been fired, the ordinary Guyanese who have been fired, are now having sleepless nights. Because coming this month end, April, they don't know if they will have monies to pay their mortgage, to pay their rent, to pay GPL, GT&T, to pay Courts, Singer, Lucky Dollars, to buy food to put on the children's table, to buy Pampers for the baby, to buy milk. And those commodities as well have gone up. You know, cost of living has gone up. You go, like as we were posting on our pages, that you see the price for gas soar. Every week you saw the figures going up. Guyana is very hard to live here right now. And many of the People's Progressive Party Civic supporters admit that times are hard. They are having difficulty. And as Bishop Juan Edgil say, indeed, they are now having sleepless nights because they don't know where the money is going to come from to take care of their basic needs.
Exactly. Chris, just before we go, you are the opposition chief whip. Quite recently, we learned that the Speaker of the National Assembly is suspending all committee meetings. He said because of the rise in COVID-19. Yet we got public servants who have to go to work every day in those departments that are sure got more than 10 and 13 persons, as a parliamentary committee has, in some cases less. But Parliament committees don't meet every day, don't even meet every week. Cabinet still meets. Cabinet got more than 13 persons. What is happening here? This has anything to do with COVID, or these guys are just trying not to have perhaps the Public Accounts Committee meet to scrutinize government spending?
Well, I said to people that Forbes Burnham always said that it is a sign of maturity when you read not only what is on the lines, but what is between the lines. And definitely, as you rightfully said, Sherrod, when you read between the lines, it cannot be that. And as you rightfully said, a average committee has approximately 8 members and perhaps 2 or 3 members of the parliament staff.
Yeah.
But on on the same note, it comes back again to the measures that were in place under the APNU+AFC government. Non-essential workers were asked to stay home, and only essential workers were asked from time to time to go to the office if it is necessary, absolutely necessary. And for a average worker to go to work, he or she must have that consent by the supervisor in charge of him or her. All of those were the measures we had in place to ensure that people stay at home. So you had public servants who had to stay home because of the measures that were in place, so they were safe and sound with their family. Now you have public servants who have to use the public transportation system to get to and from their work. And you don't know who is sitting next to you, because it's not like a case in the terms of a person going into a minibus. He or she has to do the temperature tests. Temperature tests are not taken for persons who are entering the buses or the taxis or whatever the case be. And these people contract COVID-19, they take it to their workplace, and then they take it home to their family. And that is why you see the numbers continue to soar. I mean, it is not rocket science. It is not rocket science, but it apparently, when you're dealing with the People's Progressive Party, Civic, it's rocket science to them because they just simply don't understand it. And again, you compare the measures that were in place under the APNU+AFC government with the numbers that we had. Low numbers, and we kept it that way. Could you imagine, had the APNU+AFC continued in office, I bet you that those numbers that we're seeing now, it will not have been happening. You had the PPP allowing places like Sleeping Hotel on Church Street and many other business places, supporters of theirs, open door, big party going on. Even the ministers, them and all, as you showed the regional person there in region 2, big party at the house, everything normal, people being power, we win, that sort of nonsense. And at the same time, those numbers continue to soar. Now you have the COVID-19 task force using the Ghana Defense Force and the Ghana Police Force to enforce the protocols. It moved from basic when you had, that's right, when you had under the APNU+AFC with just simple police patrol, because no one was on the streets. No restaurants, no bars, no clubs were open. So the police and the defense force just used to patrol these areas. Now you have these men and women of the Ghana Defense Force and Police Force have to go and physically remove individuals from bars and clubs, and you don't know if these individuals that they're collecting have COVID-19, putting themselves at risk, at serious risk, because they have to now go back home. All of this is what look, Sherrod, I mean, it is so vexing when you watch at the nonsensical policies, programs by the People's Progressive Party, Civic. They don't give a damn.
Policies, programs, and people. Nonsensical
exactly,
policies, people,
correct. And you just saw this afternoon, the US CDC has issued another warning to the to US citizens about traveling to a country like Guyana because
and Chris,
of COVID-19.
As you're on that, I have some unconfirmed reports that a couple of staff from the US Embassy are COVID-19 positive, with the possibility of one having died. I'm still trying to get some more information on that. Again, I have unconfirmed reports which suggest that quite a few staff from the US Embassy have contracted COVID-19, with the possibility of one of them having died. Again, this is an unconfirmed report. Chris, as we go, where do we go next in terms of our outreach? We were in Region 5 over the last weekend. Where do we go next?
This weekend, we will be in the Pomeroon Supernam region, Region 2. There are several community meetings are being planned there. As I said before, the challenge that we had is having the space that would allow the social distancing and so forth. We've now gone past that, and now we are able to have these meetings. So we will be in Essequibo this weekend, where several community meetings have been planned, and of course, the members of parliament will be there to interact and share information with the general public there in Essequibo.
Awesome. The Essequibo is we own. So Essequibans, look out for us. We're going to be there
That's right.
this weekend. Chris, thanks
That's
for joining us. Members of the public, continue to social distance, wear your mask, sanitize, watch the groups that you're in. Groups of 10 only, and even in those groups, we should mostly be socially distant. Thanks for joining us, and do stay safe. MP, Opposition Chief Whip Christopher Jones, thanks for joining us this evening, sir. And stay safe as well. Stay safe, guys.
You too.